Well, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad you could join us. Recovery Connection, episode number 11. We got a very special episode tonight, but we'll get into that in a second. I just want to give a little pre-show announcement. Welcome. Our mission here on Recovery Connection is to connect and educate organizations, people in recovery, and all of you fabulous listeners to the vast resources that have gone under the radar in our community. And we want to start building this wonderful city up and break the stigma and foster a sense of belonging for all of us. Join us live as you are right now if you're listening to me on Facebook and YouTube at 8 o'clock on the second and fourth Thursday of the month. Good golly. Where I, Kevin Williams, will be chatting with friends in recovery and community organizations on topics that are important to us and our local communities and neighborhoods. And so I'm so glad you could be here. If you're joining us live, you have an opportunity for a question and answer segment at the end of our discussion. And you can send your questions in on Facebook, and we'll be happy to answer them or try to answer them. The Recovery Connection is available on all major streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and they're available 1 week after our live show tonight. John, our producer, gets to edit them and make us all sound really pretty. Follow us, like us, share us on your social media accounts, and stay up to date on upcoming conversations, guests and news, and visit us at our website, www.jerichoroad.ca, to learn more and keep up to date on future guests and what's going on. So that's enough of the pre-show stuff. I'm going to introduce everybody. So tonight's a really special episode of Recovery Connection. We have our Coldest Night of the Year walk coming up, as you all know, because I've been plugging it in our podcasts leading up to this. And if you don't know, Coldest Night of the Year is a family-friendly event that raises awareness and much-needed funds for charities in our city. And we're very fortunate in the city that we have 4 Coldest Night of the Year walks going on and 5 charities, including Jericho Road, that are participating. And so this episode, we got everybody together. And I'll let everybody introduce themselves. And let's start off on the screen. So we'll go at the top with Jennifer.
Hi, thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. I'm Jen Graves. I work at the Ottawa Mission, and my role there is the community engagement and events.
Beautiful.
Signature event, one of them being Coldest Night of the Year.
Yeah. Beautiful. And then across the screen, we go to Martine.
Hi, I'm Martine Dorr. I'm with Cornerstone Housing for Women. I'm the Director of Programs and Services there. Thank you, Kevin, for hosting tonight. And it's really nice to be chatting amongst all of the CNOY Coldest Night of the Year participants in Ottawa.
Yeah, it's nice getting together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then right below you is Desiree.
Hi there, I'm Desiree Raypock. I'm with the Youth Services Bureau. I'm with the Community Engagement and Events, and I'm thrilled to be participating amongst the other 4 charities this year. Thank you.
Thank you. And then if you don't know Kelty's been a past guest on our Voices of Recovery and Recovery Connection. And Kelty, introduce yourself.
I'm Kelty Davidson. I'm the Executive Director of Capital City Mission, and we've been doing Coldest Night of the Year with Jericho Road for the past 6 years, and I'm really excited about the ways we're connecting this year with other organizations in town.
Beautiful. I'm glad you said for the past 6 years. Jen, how long has the mission been doing Coldest Night?
So this will be our 8th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you guys were just right behind us then, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And Martine, how long have you been doing CNOY?
This is our 3rd consecutive year running the event, and it's quickly become one of Cornerstone's most important fundraisers of the year. So very excited.
Have you seen a progression of build up with running this event just in the 3 years?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
We're seeing returning walkers and teams and people bringing in their friends, some sponsors returning year after year, and of course adding new ones, and the ongoing support of Westboro BIA and the businesses in Westboro
for
has
sure.
been really important. So it's definitely growing and getting more momentum each year.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And Desiree, how long have you guys been doing CNOY?
So we are definitely the new kids on the block. This will be our second year. So
Woo!
nothing like starting an event during a pandemic. But yes,
Yeah, I never thought of that, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mhm.
And how's it going?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been fun. It's definitely not the event that I was hoping to be hosting at this point, given my participation in Cornerstone's previous events and following some of the great work that's been done with the mission in Jericho Road. So
Yeah.
hope to get things back to normal soon.
Yeah, because we miss the in-person event, right? Because it's such a great way to foster community and get together and see people and especially for like Jen, you know, there's probably lots of teams that have been walking consecutively over the years, and so sometimes that's your only touch point with those people is the Coldest Night of the Year walk. And so yeah, the challenges of this pandemic and doing Coldest Night of the Year certainly have their ups and downs, and so I guess that's what I want to talk about because you know part of our doing Coldest Night of the Year is to help raise funds and to help us do some of the really important work that all of these organizations do in this city. So what challenges, I guess I want to start off with, what challenges have we all faced in the past year since the last Coldest Night of the Year walk? And just feel free to jump in.
Well, I guess I'll jump in. As I said, this is our third year. So we had 1 year pre-pandemic, and then we're really hoping we'd be in person this year. But the pandemic has really been the story for the last 2 years. It's changed everything about how we work. In order to respond to the need in Ottawa, we actually moved our shelter operations not once, twice,
yes.
twice, in order to be able to accommodate more women in a space that would allow the physical distancing. And of course, Ottawa saw an increase in people experiencing homelessness. We saw about a 17% increase in women experiencing homelessness since the pandemic. And we responded to that. At one point, pre-pandemic, we were serving 61 women a night, and at one point in the pandemic we were serving 125 a night. We have now returned to our original. Yeah, I know, isn't that amazing? It's sad but amazing that we were able to respond. And of course we have such great partners in the city of Ottawa, and we're able to work with city of Ottawa and Shepherds of Good Hope and so many other partners like yourselves to make sure we were meeting the needs. But we really did see such an increase, you know, of vulnerable people who, you know, through loss of income or through marginal housing with the pandemic, it was just enough to push them out of housing and need our services. So,
and Martine, that's 100% increase.
it was 100% increase for us in terms of who we were serving per night. And I can tell you our team are amazing and responded so well to that, sort of gearing up to that kind of service delivery in an unknown space, a space that wasn't our home space, was really remarkable. But we did what needed to be done in order to ensure that everyone had a place to be and stay warm. And I think that's one of the themes of the Coldest Night of the Year, is making sure that people are out of the cold and that they do have somewhere warm. And certainly we were able to do that last winter, especially this winter. But yeah, we've certainly grown a lot due to the pandemic.
I think we've all experienced that, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, at the mission, I think one of the biggest things that we saw very quickly with COVID, obviously we couldn't feed our community meals. So we have our resident meals, our hospice meals, and then we have community meals. And those used to be twice a day for anyone, men and women. But because of the pandemic, they couldn't come in. And our chef Rick was quick to come up to a solution where we now hand out food in bags, so they would receive additional items as well. Should they be able to utilize that, they'll get their hot meal in a bag, and we do that out of our loading dock. The increase in numbers has been significant. We're 85% higher in food meals since the onset of the pandemic. And the other solution that was really a blessing that was given to us is a food truck. So Pelican Restaurant provided us with their food truck, and we had to do some fundraising in order to ensure that we could meet the need. But instead of just being downtown, the food truck started with 5 locations in lower income areas where we all saw this, where, people were choosing, is it hydro? Is it my food
Yeah.
bill? And so that food truck is now going to 19 locations, and we have a waiting list of, I think it's 15 locations now. So we're hoping to get another food truck in order to fit that need and really expand our reach outside of the downtown core.
Yeah. Food, if you've ever seen the Food Banks Canada ads on TV, and the person opens up the tin of food and the light goes out. And it's a choice between, paying the bill or eating sustainable food. And I remember talking to somebody just before Christmas, and they said, when I see that commercial, that's me, and I'm kind of at my wits' ends right now.
Yeah.
So the truth in the advertising, unfortunately, yeah. Desiree or Kelty?
So what we've seen specifically over the last year is not only an increase in need for shelter services for youth, but there was the young people that are coming to our shelters has changed. And a lot of it has been as a result of increased conflict within the home, as we can all attest, having nowhere to go, and with multiple lockdowns, young people who are in an unsafe situation as it was pre-pandemic have not had the supports available to them, the outlets that they would have otherwise were able to attend. Schools, those were locked down. There was no escaping the day-to-day conflict within their home. So we're seeing a lot more young people who wouldn't traditionally have been in a homelessness situation. As well with that, keeping the community safe has always been our number one goal in regards to where does a young person go should they come into contact with COVID-19. So we did pivot and change one of our program sites into a isolation center for young people to go and safely manage the virus and get the medical supports they need away from a congregate living situation.
What a great idea. Fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelty?
Just to speak to sort of connection between our organizations, Jennifer was just talking about the food truck. It actually comes to Capital City Mission every Sunday afternoon. So that's an overlapping service now in our community, which has been a real benefit. We're not actually open on Sundays right now. So having that, that
how wonderful.
on Sundays is a big help to our neighbors. Like everyone else, I think we've seen, an increase in the number of people coming by. For those that don't know Capital City Mission well, we were running a daytime drop-in center. We've been able to stay open the whole time through opening our kitchen window onto Rideau Street and serving coffee and sandwiches and meals just kind of out our kitchen window. At different points, we've been back inside and outside again. But throughout, we've kept that window going. And especially right at the start of the pandemic, everything shut down really fast. And then we were all scrambling to keep going. But that window allowed us to stay connected in that time, which was really valuable. We've spoken to increased need for food and shelter and these sorts of things in our neighborhood. It was really that need for connection that we were most focused on. For sure, we were doing meals daily. But, as we serve those meals, looking someone in the eye, remembering what happened to them last week, checking in on their health, checking in on their symptoms in a human way, not just a checklist way. I think we've all seen the wear and tear of people having to answer that checklist daily or many times a day, and it can be draining. But to also have the person saying, like, how are you doing? I've noticed this. Are you okay? Is really important in a time when our whole country is isolating. We're all seeing the effects of isolation on mental health, on increases in addiction. But we don't always think about what isolation and a lockdown means to somebody that doesn't have a laptop or a cell phone or internet. And so we really tried to focus on, at points I've joked that we have intentionally slow service so we can have that moment of connection when it is just that window opportunity.
Yeah. And I'll speak for Jericho Road. I mean, we've been kind of fortunate that we have 4 locations for 31 men, and so we've been able to maintain individual bubbles through the large community. Now the problem is that for men in our residential treatment center, all the 12-step meetings shut down to Zoom, and they lost that personal intimacy and connection of being with like-minded people together. And one of the things that we know is that isolation is detrimental to people's mental health, but even more so if you're afflicted with a substance use disorder. And so we really had to come up with innovative ways. See, I didn't say pivot. Hey, did you notice that? Hey, come up with innovative ways to keep everybody connected. Not only the people that we serve, but also the staff, because I found that we started to get a little disconnected in our staff. Now we're a small organization. We have nine staff, and so it became quite apparent that we could become very disconnected outside of the office. And so we really had to be, we really had to make an effort to keep us connected and keep a tab on one another, that we don't get too isolated from one another. I think that we can all agree that there are many challenges that we faced, but one of the things that I was thinking of as you all were talking were some of the added expenses that COVID has brought upon. And I know that I was talking to an organization that was giving out meals instead of having people come in for meals. And they were remarkably surprised at the cost of takeout containers.
Yes.
and cutlery and the things that we don't think of. So does any of you want to touch on that?
I'll jump in. When you talk about the cost of takeout containers, I laugh because that's been a huge expense this year. We had to change so much of our services, and one of the things we had to do was move away from our congregate dining, which is really sad because that's where a lot of community and connection happens as well. But we really were responsive in terms of the food insecurity that was highlighted during the pandemic. So we were providing for food for programs and service users in programs where we often didn't, and we were using the takeout or single-use containers, single-use condiments, single-use cutlery, and those expenses have just gone through the roof. And of course, we're all seeing the increase in the cost of food through the pandemic because of supply chain issues and one thing and another. When I think about, the cost of PPE and the extra disinfecting and all of those costs, it's really been a very trying time for organizations to be responsive and continue to meet the needs. But yeah, it's been an ongoing challenge for sure. And that's why something like the Coldest Night of the Year remains such an important event, for, raising funds. That's the primary goal, but it's also to reconnect and have community and have fun together and share some hot chocolate when you come to pick up your tube and get together as a community and show your support.
Yeah, well said. Anyone else?
I mean, I think Martine, you just nailed it there. All those items that you identified, the PPE and the extra cleaning and all of that. But to go back to that point of isolation, I couldn't agree more. I think what's been interesting as a perspective, seeing an in-person of CNOI and then now virtual, is because we aren't gathering as a huge group, the external participants, and, Kevin, you're right, we have many teams that come back year after year. That's a missing element. But because we are forced to connect more, we're picking up the phone more. We have volunteers that are calling our participants. And my experience really, truly has been that I'm learning more about the why rather than giving them the experience of the night. And there's this really nice conversations that builds a stronger bond, if you will, with the donor. And then equally with the staff, what we, this year, what's been our biggest, I don't know if you want to call it fun competition, if you will, is we have 5 champions that are all staff that have put teams in, and that's building a camaraderie for us. And some of them are for like myself, who works from home. There's many staff who I haven't seen in years, and so we're having this. And to say years is just, I can't believe I just said that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
As soon as you said that, it lingered in my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, she said years.
And this year, that's what we're really feeling, this strong, we're calling it the mission community. We've got these great ambassadors, and the momentum is building, and the connection is there again.
Yeah, wonderful.
Don't bring up
Yes.
competition though, because Kevin's ahead of me on the scoreboard right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to say it's friendly, but it's not.
To echo Jen's point, we too are really focusing on our staffing in regards to bringing the fun element into CNOI. It's at a perfect time when people tend to feel a little bit alone traditionally anyways, and a little bit down. So we've taken it to each program area and are really focusing on giving back to our staff who've been working tirelessly through this pandemic in situations that we've never dreamt of before, and just continuing to keep the morale up, and again, showing our appreciation for the work that they're doing, because they are working under extremely challenging situations, far more complex issues than we've ever seen before, with young people presenting through this pandemic. So we're really focusing on the fun and getting the opportunity for people to connect and rally around this great opportunity, this great event. So.
Yeah. Did you want to jump in there, Kelty? I saw you shaking your head.
I was just going to pick up on that idea of people needing something to come around. I mean, our walk last year blew through our greatest possible expectations of what we could fundraise last year. And I think that was a result of, people really wanting something positive to rally around, wanting to give back to their community. I mean, at that point with lockdowns, like just getting together outdoors with masks on in a small group was a big deal. So I think it was, even though it was virtual, it was a pretty exciting event for people, just to get to connect and be part of something positive together. And I think we're seeing that again this year at the moment.
Yeah, and I think it censors, it fosters that sense of belonging, because we have people taking pictures of their walk and sending them in and posting them, and even though that it is virtual, it still fosters that sense of community and belonging, and I think that's really important as well. Just kind of on the same side note of topic, what is the the biggest shocker that you've had in the past year dealing with COVID? Something that you never thought that you would be dealing with, or something that you never thought you would be doing, or something that happened that you just could not foresee? Does anybody have any stories on that?
I think for us, we've had so many staff say to us, wow, this isn't what I thought I signed on for, because suddenly they're doing, it's challenging work. It's been said here before, it's challenging work, and it became far more challenging. And on top of that, we were getting, asking medical questions, checking temperatures,
Yes.
doing all that sort of thing. And I think that was a shock. January of 2022 was literally the biggest shock for us, having lived through 2 years of the pandemic. January was the worst of the worst. With in the 1 month from the 1st to the 31st, we had 17 residents and 22 staff with test positive for COVID.
Oh, goodness.
So staffing, we had such staffing shortages, and people would be tapped out of work for a while they were recovering, and people went above and beyond. And I think that was a shock, was that we just, the pandemic just kept asking more and more and more of people, and the same for our residents as well. Every time we thought we were opening up to our programming and bringing back all the fun stuff and the community or pieces and activities, we would have to shut down again for a little while. So I think it's been a roller coaster. I have to poke fun at some of my colleagues that tried to convince me it was 3 years we've been in the pandemic. It's been 2. It just feels like 3 or 30. I don't know, but yeah, there's been lots of little surprises. It's been the gift that keeps on giving, but we're hoping that it's pretty much. We're hoping we're coming in for the end of it now.
Well, I don't know about the gift part, but it keeps on giving. Yes. Yeah. Anyone else?
I think for us, one of the biggest aha and shock is just, again, reaffirming how resilient our young people are. For a 17-year-old, 2 years of disruption is a really long time. And those are 2 years during a very critical time for young people. So those that we serve that are already struggling, we're surprisingly resilient and able to keep going. And I just commend them for everything they've done. And I think for us, that was one of the biggest shocks, was that the young people did, subscribe to all of the mandates and what was requested of them, and they jumped on board, and they really worked together as a community to ensure that each one of them was safe and protected at the same time. So that was, for me, was really surprising in a very positive way.
I was thinking that the one of the biggest challenges that we face that we never thought we would face is in our 9-bed treatment center. And so when you have 9 people who are experiencing withdrawal and not having the solution anymore, and trying to figure out what their next steps are, cooped up into a house, and telling them that you can't go anywhere, you have no 12-step meetings to go to, and you can't go see your family, and you have to stay here, and so having 9 guys like squirrels in a cage. And so that was very, very hard on the staff, because they were their family, they were their counselors, they were their friends, they were their support system, and the added stress that put on the staff, I didn't foresee coming. And the staff handled it very well. I think it was, another opportunity and growth and reflection, but at the same time, it's time, right? Yeah. And I can't imagine you, Jen, because the Ottawa Mission is such a larger organization and has so many moving elements in it.
It's very true. Like when you ask that question, right away I can say there's not a program or a service that wasn't affected.
Mm-hmm.
But there's two that really come to mind that were of great loss, and it's called our Discovery U program. So this is a program that actually is in partnership with the universities, and we would have individuals, men and women, who are otherwise pretty much they're unable to have employment in some cases. So this gives them the social and the educational part. And those are usually held in a gathering as well as in school at the mission. So that all had to be canceled. But what we were able to do within about 9 months into the pandemic is, I mean, who knew? First of all, I never heard of Zoom before the pandemic. So then we were able to have a donor provide us with iPads and laptops that we were able to then distribute and run the program. So I know we all hate that word pivot, but that's a pretty good example of how to retrain, how can we make this work? And the solution is there. And I know one that's really been struggling now with us is really the volunteers. We need so many volunteers. I'm sure all of us rely on our volunteers. And because of the protocols, or because maybe our regular volunteers contracted COVID, and all of the things that we've all, come to understand with limitations, is that again, that's affected. But a lot of these volunteers, we're their family, we're their connection, we're their social. So I think, in the bigger picture, it is the isolation that everyone feels.
Yeah.
That is the hardest.
Yeah.
And restrictions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's another topic. Good golly. Yeah. And Kelty?
When you first asked the question, I was going to make the joke, I never thought I would make so many sandwiches. And then I actually just did some quick math, and I think it's probably true to say I've made over 20,000 sandwiches personally since the pandemic.
Wow.
But that speaks to Jennifer's point about volunteers, right? You recognize in these times how essential the volunteers are to the work that we all do. And also Discovery U, I know many people who absolutely love being part of that. So I'm glad it's up and going again. And I think that I would echo Desiree completely on the 2 points that she made. And I don't know that I'm surprised by them, but they've definitely shone through. The resiliency of our neighbors in Lower Down is incredible. And the gratitude they've showed to me personally as we've changed things constantly, and the willingness to just go with the flow and encourage staff and share their gratefulness, even though sometimes we feel like we're not able to do as much as we want to right now. We've had a really great community, and I've also gotten to witness how people are taking care of each other. Relationships started indoors at the drop-in have started to expand, and people say, can you check in with this person? I haven't seen this person for 3 days, Kelty. Can you make sure to reach out? And so really it has been a whole community taking care of each other in our country.
Awesome.
And I was thinking about this from the other side, because we firmly believe in service work at Jericho Road. One of the reasons is that, one of the sayings in recovery is service keeps us sober. It gives us a sense of purpose, and it helps us keep us out of our head for a few hours while we're volunteering. And so not being able to go and volunteer and be of service to other organizations has been really tough. We volunteer at the Ottawa Food Bank, and so that was touch and go at times. And I know that the guys look forward to doing that service work. And so when those opportunities ceased, you could tell that there was something missing, and it was tough. Yeah. So it's both sides of the coin, right? And speaking of the food bank, a lot of us do rely on the food bank for their services. And I think, you know, they're worth a mention that they've really pulled through for a lot of organizations in this city, and they were able to still do the services that they do, although they had just as many challenging times as all of us. But I know that we all rely on their services, and I think they really did a good job. Does anyone want to comment on the food bank and how they really pulled through for them? I think it's worth a mention.
Absolutely. I'd like to, oh, sorry.
You speak first. I'll just add that for anyone just listening to the podcast, there were all of our heads nodding the whole time. It's very true. But yeah, take it away.
I was going to give a shout out to Parkdale Food Center. They really stepped up, especially for our residents at our Princeton location. And they, quickly realizing things had to change and that food insecurity was really heightened. They developed a program called Cooking with Anna, where residents could sign on for the session that week. They'd get delivered all the ingredients to make an economical, nutritious meal. And then they could sign on, on their laptop or computers and cook together and learn how to make a dish. Efforts like that really went a long way, and we couldn't have gotten through it without the amazing donations that we got from the food banks this year. It's just been remarkable, but that one in particular, I just
if you've never had the opportunity, check out Cooking with Anna.
Yeah.
It is a marvelous initiative. Yeah. Anyone else?
No, just to echo your point, the support from the food bank has been incredible, to say the least, in regards to just continuing to ensure that our cupboards are stocked and that our young people are able to access food. Food has been also, we've seen an increase in the amount of food that's been required in some of our locations, simply because young people were, they were with us in our shelters. If you're feeding a 17-year-old, they require nutrition, and a lot of it. So
2 fridges.
Yes, at least.
I got a 15-year-old.
Yes, exactly. So just always ensuring that we have the supplies we require, and nutritious food has always been one of their mainstays. So we're just really appreciative of that.
Yeah.
They've also done a great job, I think, of making sure organizations in the city are doing okay, like checking in with the leaders of our organizations and, offering us information from public health and seminars and all sorts of sort of extra add-ons that you wouldn't expect a food bank to be responsible for. And so I think they've been a really big encouragement to leaders in the city this year.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about with you all is, how do you think that the virtual walk is going to challenge us again this year with fundraising? Because this is the second year of doing virtual, and are there any challenges or any opportunities on the other side of that coin that you've seen moving into this year's second walk? Virtual.
I know for us. Oh, sorry, Martine.
You go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. As a matter of fact, I know we've always been speaking about, we miss the collaboration and having our, the actual event. On the fundraising side, though, it's really interesting because the expenses are much less. And so therefore, in the bigger picture at the end, what we've seen and what we're seeing again this year is we're actually on par to raise more than we did since the 2020. And so 2000, we did very well, just over 100, but we've got more participants who are raising more engaged participants. And it's really interesting. I think it has a lot to do with, I can't recall who said it earlier, but people want to help. They want a reason to help. They want to be a part of something. And with everything that's going on, it's giving them that essence of community. So that's what we've been seeing, and the trend is going in that direction again for this year. So it's kind of interesting to compare the two. And as far as the challenges with the virtual, I think it is providing an event experience, which is what everyone in the event world, you want to have the fun and the splash. So as a solution, what we have come up with, knowing that, we always call CNOY a fun family friend event, we focus very heavily on the kids. So Blue Sea does give us like little crafts and stuff, but we have an amazing creative talent who took it one step further, and we have a full craft kit. So we give that to all the families. We just actually sent it out today. And the other thing that we did is, we all know chili is part of the event. So we have a chili recipe from Chef Rick that we sent out, and just little touch points that, you have to be creative with. How are we keeping them in the feeling that they're part of something that's not just going for a walk and asking their family and friends for money? So giving them that essence. I think the best and favorite one that is getting a lot of attention is, the question came to myself is, how am I connecting the mission to the participants? And so we have a hospice, as you guys know, and I thought, oh, that might be cute. So we have participants, young and old, can create cards and send them into the hospice. So things like that we thought would, provide an opportunity for our participants to feel engaged, and it brings the mission to them. And a lot of people don't know about our hospice. So we want to shine a light on that program. So.
Very nice. Kelty?
I was listening so intently, I forgot your question.
just the challenges, or the flip side, the opportunities of our second year doing virtual. And I ask you so that I don't have to speak, because we do the walk together.
Really nice. Your lovely producer of this podcast is doing great work on social media for our event. I think that's been a main way that we've tried to continue connecting people, and we have a Facebook group for the event, and so people can share photos of where they've walked and that sort of thing. And trying to just have opportunities to share with each other what they're up to, why they're walking. These sorts.
Yeah, to bring that community sense to it, eh? Yeah. Desiree?
Well, we've actually never had the opportunity to be in person, so.
Oh, that's right, eh? Yes. Well, just think, the first
how do we
year.
Make this year's virtual different from last year's virtual? Thanks for coming back to another virtual event. So, again, with us being the youth serving agency, we really try to focus on bringing a young person's element to all of our events. There's a lot of, we'll say, adults that really appreciate the opportunity to be young again. So I coordinate also a youth advisory committee, and I tap into their expertise as being a fellow high school student on what would work for their peers, etc. And this year, we're engaging more schools in Coldest Night of the Year, just through this youth cabinet, and we're incorporating a photo scavenger hunt, which should hopefully bring every person typically likes to take pictures of their walks and has a cell phone. So we're incorporating a scavenger hunt, which
what
will
a
also
great idea.
So
are you listening,
fun.
Everyone?
That's great.
Something fun, and we've noticed that the schools are on board to do their end of the school day happens to coincide with what is the end of day and the coldest night of the year sunset feel. So it's going to be they'll be doing their walks during the school at the end of the school day, and we'll be going out to the schools and capturing content and sharing that with the broader community as we go.
Fabulous.
Great.
Fabulous. I was
Awesome.
just thinking, man, your first in-person event. Woo! Hey, what a party.
I can't wait.
Yeah. You'll send us invites, right?
Yeah, we're coming.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. And Martine?
Well, I think first of all, although we're advertised as a virtual event, we are finding that some people are getting together in small groups, either on the 26th of February or other times. We encourage people to walk either in Westboro. Westboro is our main area of sponsorship. The BIA, the Meridian Credit Union is our lead sponsor. So many organizations: RBC Westboro, Love Your Body Fitness, Fratelli's Westboro, Respect Pharmacy, or Respect RX, which many organizations know who are in those areas. We're encouraging people to go walk in that area, but to walk whenever they want, with whomever they want. So there's still some small, safe groups getting together, and that's really nice to see. We're doing a coloring contest for people can download. Children, I guess, can maybe adults too can download a coloring contest. Maybe, yeah. So although it's virtual, we are finding that we're doing. We've had incredible, as I mentioned, the sponsors and the community. I think that's one of the community support. That's been one of the joys that we're really grateful for throughout COVID and with the CNOY, is the community is responding, and they're really stepping up and supporting us. And so we're seeing that come through, and in the donations, we're at 50% of our goal, which is 75,000. So we still have a ways to go. But I think the other thing, I guess it's tangential, but I do, when we talk about the supported community, one of the things we were talking about before the podcast started tonight was partnership. And that's been one of the joys, is even to be here with the other organizations tonight. We've learned that getting through the pandemic isn't possible unless you support each other, and so that's been a real joy for us, I think, is new partnerships, strengthened partnerships, working together. We're all better when we work together, and that's also brought a lot of joy into this event and into the work that we do.
Well, then that's just the perfect lead in. Thank you, because I've been pretty easy on you people tonight. So now I get to ask the hard question, and before I do, I want to thank Jen, because Jen kind of brought us all together this year. And it was the right opportunity, because as I was saying when we were chatting before we went live, that's what we believe in at Jericho is we got to start getting connected, and we got to start talking to one another, because we're so much stronger together than in our singular silo. And so why did we wait so long to do this? There's the silence I was waiting for. Desiree?
As the newbie,
yeah.
As the new kid on the block, again, I didn't recognize that we wouldn't be working together. So I just figured last year, because we were all just figuring out a virtual program, that we were busy focusing on that, and just always figured that we're all in this together and we can all work together, and we all know that there's power in numbers. And I only envision growing this event for Ottawa as a community from here on in.
Well said. Well said. Jen, what was going on in your head when you started to get us together?
Well, as I mentioned when we were previously talking, I've often worked with other charities. So, even if, as we are all serving a population that is very similar, even though there's the difference of ages or demographic, it's homelessness, and it's addiction programs, and it's, people who really need this support. And so to me, it just makes sense. It's like, okay, well, we're all doing the same event, but I love the fact that I don't think it needs to just be CNOY.
Yes.
I think there are other opportunities, initiatives, campaigns, whatever, even around Ottawa is a small town in a big city.
Yeah.
How many times have people said that, right? So I think this is just the beginning, and I too, it's brought a lot of joy, because we are, as individuals, even isolated working on an event. So even just this last little bit, to be able to know that we could all reach out to one another. And I've gained so much knowledge from all of you in not only your programs, but even just the little ideas that we're doing, each idea that we're doing to make the event great.
Yeah.
So,
And, I can speak to that. For me, is that, we all wear so many hats as leaders in the nonprofit communities, and we get very focused on juggling the balls that we have in front of us, and we juggle a lot of balls, and so it's very difficult at times to not concentrate on those balls and look outside of those walls to the other people in your community, the other agencies, and the other people that are doing fabulous work. So I'm just as much, I want to say to blame, but I'm just as much in that focus of not looking outside of the walls. And I think that we all need to start doing that and helping one another. What do you think that we can do better moving forward as a community of people providing services for those who desperately need them?
I think continue to collaborate together. What we found through the pandemic was, we at the beginning we had volunteers who were sewing isolation gowns, for us, which, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were all wearing. And when we had more than we needed, we were able to offer them to an organization that didn't have them. An organization that had masks was able to offer them to those of us who didn't. I think, as Jen said, we're a small town, a big city. That idea, if we can share, that there's, that we do have similar values and objectives, which is to uphold vulnerable people and ensure that they have the resources and services they need. And we do that best when we do so together, when we reach out to each other and ask for help. And we don't need to compete when it comes to fundraising, because there's enough love to go around for everybody. So I think just on the ground, being able to, if, like you had mentioned this earlier, Kevin, if I've learned from a mistake, let me share that. If I have a resource that we've worked on and has worked for us, like, let's share that. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can lean on each other. And I think we'll all be the better for it. So
well said.
I have a story that was shared with me by a young person, and it has stuck with me the entire time. And I believe that us working together is an example of how our community works, and that being the homelessness sector. A young man advised me that I asked him one day, well, how did you come into contact with the Youth Services Bureau? And he said, well, through our drop-in. I said, okay. And he said, I was having lunch at another shelter, and one of the old guys, quote unquote, walked me over and said, this is where you need to be. There's hope for you. And that to me speaks volumes in regards to how we as a community need to take care of each other, and our most vulnerable do that within their community as well. So we're just echoing the work that's already being done.
wow. Mm-hmm.
I can't say well said enough. Very nice. Are there any questions up on the board, John? No questions? Okay. See, I told you. It happens. It just means that we were so well spoken that nobody needs any more information. Before I go to announcements and close up, I'll give you an opportunity to say anything last that you think you forgot to say or you want to say. Any takers?
I just want to say thank you. I think this is an awesome opportunity. I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know, like I said it again, but it's just the beginning. But I love this podcast. It's a little nugget that, never know. Maybe we can do this again.
Yes, I think it's the start. Yes. And if we're handing out kudos, I got to give you a kudo, Jen, for getting us all together this year and taking that initiative. And yeah, it's just wonderful, and this has kind of been the highlight of my week. The other highlight that we had was doing the photo shoot for the Ottawa Citizen together
That was
on
fun.
the coldest night
On
or
the
the
coldest
coldest
day.
day of the year. Good golly, yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh my goodness.
As a reminder to all our listeners, because they'll still have time when this goes on podcast form, can everyone say where their walk location is so people can find you?
Sure. I'm Desiree Raypock with the Youth Services Bureau, and our walk location is Ottawa Centertown.
I'm Jen Graves from Ottawa Mission. We're Ottawa downtown.
I'm Martine Dorr from Cornerstone Housing for Women. Our location is in Westboro. There's still time to sign up to be a walker or join a team, start a team.
And I'm Kelty Davidson from Capital City Mission, and I'll speak for Kevin as well because we partner with Jericho Road in the Lower Town Walk.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, everybody. Let me make a few announcements. Don't forget, I'll say it many times over the next couple of weeks. Our Coldest Night of the Year walk is February 26th. So join a team, fundraise, and walk. The website is up and running. Get your teams registered. Visit cnoy.org. Search for your favorite Ottawa charity. Register, fundraise, walk. We all know where to go. Everyone's told us. Our next episode will be February 24th, back with our Voices of Recovery. So stay tuned for that. And we have a special guest that we'll start putting on our social media. I'm keeping it a secret right now. Past episodes of the Recovery Connection are available on all your major streaming platforms, and live episodes are available 1 week after airing. And again, follow, like, share us on your social accounts. Get the word out about the Recovery Connection and more importantly, about all the great work that all these people are doing in this beautiful city of ours. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We can't do this alone. I consider it's just such a blessing to have all of you here tonight and doing the great work that we do in this city. So I'm grateful, and I hope to see you all very soon, and we'll get together and talk about our walk. So I wish you all success for your walk, and that you are able to meet the fundraising goals that you've set out, that we are so need, because the past 2 years have just been so challenging for us all. So thank you all for coming. God bless you all, and to all our listeners, thanks for listening. God bless you all as well, and we'll talk soon. Wave goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.